It's the Earlene. Your hosts, Earlene and Steven. And we're both here in studio to talk about what's going on this week. What's up, Earlene?
Hey, you. I don't even know where to look. You moved our table. Do I look there or do I look here? Do I just look at you?
Right there.
Hey. Hello, people.
And you can look at me. Either way. Hey, thanks for joining us today. Earlene has got all the news that's the news across the Meade County nation. And I had fun working on the paper. I guess there was some last-minute sliders inners.
There was.
For the newspaper. Even some changes to the front page, it looks like.
You know, it's funny because on Friday, Nancy and I both were patting ourselves on the back, and we're like, we got this paper done. We're ready to go. Woo! And so we went out Friday night and met up, had a couple of drinks, celebrated Jaden turned 21 years old.
Yep.
Went into the weekend, and on Sunday,
boom.
Did you know that we have a 5-year-old state champion right here in Meade County?
Nope, didn't know that.
Yep. So
5-year-old state champion.
We have a 5-year-old state champion in wrestling. It's crazy.
In wrestling?
Yeah, he's a wrestler. He's a tough, sturdy little thing. So he did. He won first place, won state. I don't know how many. I guess they call them matches. What do they call? They're not games.
That's
they're
matches.
Yeah. Okay. So every match he had throughout the season, he pretty much placed. Like a couple of times he just placed like fourth or whatever. But he hasn't even started kindergarten yet. So when I wrote up his little deal, I said, I said his name and who he was the son of, and I said, and he'll start kindergarten at Berry Primary in the fall. But it was so funny because the other sports people the other athletes I wrote about in this week or, highlighted what they had done, I was like, they're in 7th grade at Stuart Pepper or they're in 10th grade at, Meade County High School. And then here's this kid, he'll start kindergarten. So anyway, I just thought that was awesome. Kudos to the parents for that because that's a big dedication. When you have a kid that age, it's solely on the parent's shoulders to get him to the practices and get him doing that. And here's the thing. That's his accomplishment. They couldn't do the match for him.
That's right.
Like he did that. He had to listen and we've watched several of his videos and so he's the one who had to learn, how to grapple and how to flip them and how to pin, and all the things that are required for that. So there were 2 state champions. One is leaving the youth wrestling. This is his very last match for the youth wrestling. Now he'll go into middle school next year. And then the other one was this little boy who is entering kindergarten. So,
exciting.
Yeah, we changed the front page and slapped him right on there. And
very cool.
Because, it's very cool. And what I want to do is I hope I'm still around in 12 or 13 years when he's a senior at Meade County High School.
Yeah, right. State champion.
Still the state champion.
Olympic hopeful.
Something. I don't know. But what I really love about it is when I talked to his mom about it and got a quote from her, she was like, this has been something for our whole family to do. They've traveled all over Kentucky to take him to these things. And I noticed from her Facebook page, she's got grandparents out there, aunts and uncles, not at every single one, but they take turns, going to those things. And I said back to her, I remember this. My kids were in Taekwondo, and they were competitive Taekwondo, and they went to lots and lots of contests and competitions and things like that. And it's a lot. I mean, sometimes you have to drive and spend the night at a cheap hotel with 2 or 3 other families, and you just kind of fall in like a herd of litter of kittens or something, and everybody just finds a spot and sleeps, and next day get up and have a buffet breakfast and go on and spend the whole day at a gymnasium. And so there's something very busy and very exhausting about those years, but I look back on it and I wouldn't have traded those for the world. And there was probably 6 or 7 years of that where it was just all the time, traveling, doing things, showing up, practicing, convincing them to go. And now I wasn't the kind of parent that gave my kid much choice. I gave them this choices. Would you like to play basketball or baseball? And they had to pick one or the other because that's not even good because that's 2 different seasons, but maybe it's baseball or soccer. Whatever the seasonal, like there's spring sports and there's winter sports. But they chose Taekwondo for a couple of reasons because it was year round. And also I made both the girls do it just for safety things. But both of the boys, they did other sports as well. So But it's important. I want to say this. In this week's paper, right now I'm interviewing a cheerleading champion. And so I'm going to get that. And I asked her.
Is that a state or nationals kind of thing?
Well, I think, I'm not quite sure. I'm waiting for some of the information to get in. I talked to her mother last night, and then I'm waiting till the child gets out of school today to get some more information. But like some of the things I asked her, I know she was in Hawaii and that she competed in Hawaii. And I know that she's leaving this Thursday to go to Florida.
Okay.
So maybe national.
She's kind of a big deal.
Well, I think so.
We'll see.
She's a cheerleader at Meade County High School.
So you'd have to get the paper next week to figure it out.
Absolutely. I'm not releasing much information, but I did ask questions like this. I was like, are there still people who don't consider you to be an athlete? You know, because a lot of people don't. They think cheerleaders are just cute and they bounce around with their little pom-poms. And I also...
Some come from a gymnast background.
Yeah, a lot. Most do. Most take some type of gym classes in order to train for this. And then I ask her... if there are still people who don't think that cheerleading is a sport, you know, that it should get as much time as volleyball or wrestling, which...
See, that's interesting because, well, first they make it an extracurricular. They put as much time into cheerleading and memorizing the routines and all of that other stuff because I think you even have like a dance team at the school. You've got the band.
Flag.
So is the band considered a sport? I mean, they got to stand out there for long hours at a time and movements and all of that other stuff. So
I don't know. My sole summer of marching band was under the tutelage of Paul Davis. And anybody who recognizes that name are like, holy cow. And to go to his band camp during the summer was...
brutal?
Oh, yeah. It could be equated to going to your probably your basic training. Yeah, he was tough. But
I bet you wish they had camelbacks back then so you could just, take a drink. It's hanging on your back.
He would not have allowed that anyway. He would have been like, you don't need water. So we got a big write-up from the swimming coaches. Good. And so we've got information about that. We've got information about archery. We have a bowling write-up. We have basketball, wrestling, volleyball.
A lot of sports.
I know. I told my team, I said, this issue could be called Sports, all Meade County. Sports. So, and so many pictures. We had so many pictures to choose from. And so, yeah, we had a good time because it was exciting to do that. It was exciting for us to have that much
content.
To have that much content to put in to the point that, we were sitting there like, should we put this one in or this one in? We had to weigh.
You had to choose.
Yes.
There's only so much room in the newspaper.
I know. And so if it didn't get in this week, we will put it in next week. And then I just want to do a shout out to the kindergartners. We ran those again.
Yeah. So let me talk about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So that is a decision on my part to rerun them because we trying to get color on all the pages with the printer, and that was not going to work. So we alternated. 1 week you got black and white, and then the next week you got color. So those that wanted color got it in color. So now you've got your retro photo from the newspaper, and you've got your color, and plus the advertisers that were in there. So they actually got 2 weeks of advertising out of the deal, and so it was a me choice to do that than to try to point fingers at the printer or other things that we have to do to try to work with the people that help bring the paper together.
Yeah.
So this was my best solution to that problem. So parents, if you had the color, so you want to get both issues. You want this week's issue and you want last week's issue because you'll have the color if you weren't in color last week. But we thought that that's the best way to. I thought that would be the best way to satisfy all concerned and make sure that their loved one was featured in the paper properly. Plus those classroom photos and stuff that weren't in color, and now you've got that retro and everything else to choose from.
Yeah, and that's great. I like black and white anyway.
Now they're in all color on the digital version.
Yes.
On the e-edition, so you can definitely check that out.
Right, for sure. And here's the thing, based on what you said, it is near impossible not to make some sort of mistake. We try so hard. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of words that come in. We know we have at least 13 writing styles because we have 13 people who write for the paper, and that's not counting the submissions that we get. And we ran a letter to the editor, and that sort of thing. So there are so many different styles. Like most of the obituaries are written by the families, and and some people have it prepared, and you can almost tell, oh, they've been waiting for this. They went ahead and did it. But some people are just grief-stricken, and they're just writing it out right then. So when we do make a mistake, we will do everything we can to fix it, just like Stephen did. And I think that's and it wasn't even truly a mistake. I mean, it is just the way it played out. Not every page is in color. I think on any newspaper, is there any newspaper that is all?
Yeah, we can get it all in color, but it was much.
It would be cost prohibited to do that.
It would have been extremely cost prohibitive.
Yeah. And so, but anyway, so I love that he did that. I love that because Stephen's got a kindergartner, and I love that he was like considering what parents would
paid
like
for
to
my
see.
own ad too.
Yeah, he did. Right, paid out of pocket because we harassed him for it. We're like, Stephen.
I was going to do it anyway.
Yeah, we know.
So let me transition us over to our sponsors for this episode, and then we'll pick up with the calendar and what else you can expect from this week's paper.
Sure.
Stand by. Sponsors today. One of many sponsors, Ray's Ford, for sponsoring this week's episode. If you're looking for a new vehicle, you can go to Ray's Ford. They've got quite the selection between Jeep, Dodge, Ford, and Ford. I'm a fan of the Ford Bronco here lately.
I know.
I might be biased.
We hear about it.
They have not only a good selection of cars, but a great service. If you work busy like I do all the time, they can actually come and pick you up and take your car and take it over, get it fixed, and bring it back. Joe Redmond, also one of our sponsors for this week. You can call 270-668-2858 for all your landscaping needs. He's kind of your local handyman guy. If you're doing some deck work or outdoor work and you just don't have the time to get to it, this is the right guy with the right crew to get it done. He also does some handyman fixer-upper stuff on the inside. So just give Joe a call at 270-668-2858. Also, Lakeside Bar and Grill for sponsoring this week's episode. Terry Hubry with the Doe Valley Lakeside Bar and Grill. Great view, great food, and you can also receive catering from them. You can reach out to them by calling 270-422-3981 for more about their catering information. They have a great Sunday buffet after church. You can lunch, breakfast, brunch.
It's
a
not
brunch.
a buffet. You order off the menu, but it's yummy.
Pollux Appliance. Sorry.
That's okay.
For sponsoring this week's episode, 270-668-8292, where they service what they sell. www.polluxappliance.com. They have your local appliance needs right here in Brandenburg. And they also, like I said, service what they sell. But if you've also got that old clunker down in the basement washing and drying your clothes and you need it for a tune-up, they can do that as well. So coming back in, we left off, we were talking about a lot of the stuff that's in the paper for the sports. And we had some late submissions, so we redid the front page. So check it out.
Yep.
Community events coming up. A lot of stuff.
Yeah, quite a lot of stuff. And again, I love that we have all this put together and all the different things. And if you're listening or watching and you have anything you want to put in the community calendar, all you have to do is reach out. We'll put it in. It doesn't matter what it is, what your business is. I mean, we're not going to do anything inappropriate. But if you've got something coming up, put it in. I think probably an exception to that would be like a yard sale or something like that.
We do yard sale ads.
We do, and they're super cheap.
$10 for a yard sale ad and a paper.
But some of the things I just want to touch base with on Thursday. I was looking at this, and it's in Radcliffe at Realty World Workshop, and they'll go over helping you find grant money up to $20,000 to buy a house, which, that's pretty good. So it's at 4:00. That's all the information I have on that. You can look it up a little bit more, but probably call that business. There's things going on. I think this is kind of cool. Fort Knox has an adventure program hike, and they are going to go. It's called Chasing Waterfalls. And this week they're going to go to Tioga Falls. Have you been to Tioga Falls?
I have not.
It is, well, first of all, it is quite the little hike to get out there. I'm a pretty seasoned waterfall chaser and hiker. But when we went out there, our little troop that we took with us, it was a hike, but it is so worth it because you end up going down this little terrain and this gravel terrain, and then you barely turn to the left, and then there's the falls, and it's like. And then you're like, okay, well, that was worth that. And so, but you have to get out there and walk to be able to find those waterfalls. So I thought that might be kind of fun. Just, look in Fort Knox in the MWR and you find that out. I don't know what this is, but it's worth exploring. Robert's Farm is going to have Mr. and Mrs. Valentine. It's on Sunday at 10 o'clock in the morning. So that might be worth looking up if somebody wants to do that.
On a Sunday.
On a Sunday. That's what we got here.
How does it go from 10 to a certain time? Or
It just says 10 a.m. That's all I've got on this. I noticed that on Monday and Wednesday, there is sign-ups on Monday, 7th and 8th grade baseball tryouts for Meade County High School baseball team at the Meade Olin Park. That's on Monday from 3 to 5 p.m. So what are they going to do? Just yank those kids right out of school like at 2:45 and drive them over there?
Don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but get out there if you want to do that. And then they're doing it again from 3 to 5 on Wednesday, February 12th. 7th and 8th grade baseball tryouts for Stuart Pepper Middle School baseball team. So if you want to be in the high school team, that's Monday the 10th. If you want to be in the middle school team, that's Wednesday. So anyway, there's lots of things every day. We put this out once a week, and each day probably has anywhere from 6 to 10 things that you can look up to do. So there's lots to do in our community. You just have to kind of poke around a little bit, maybe look up their Facebook page or inquire, like where exactly do I go with this? We try to keep it under 10 words per item that we put out. So
I know that Meade County Youth Soccer and Meade County Youth Baseball are also open. You can check that out on Facebook. That's about... I mean, I'm not tracking anything else other than all of these great stories that you guys worked on.
I got one I want to talk about.
Go ahead.
So women in welding. So apparently the Meade County, when I was growing up, it was called the vocational school. Now they call it MC4, a career center, I think is what they call it. So they've got a female women in welding, and they just went to competition. And they did pretty well. And our writer, Kit Schaefer, followed that story.
Very good.
She went down there, so she wrote it up. We've got some cute pictures and lots of interesting information. I had no idea.
Yeah, one of the instructors, Adam Fushi, was there with them. I'm, smiling from ear to ear. So, Adam, you're on the front page. Make sure you get a copy.
Yeah. Leadership team is through the Chamber of Commerce, and it's just about I think there's eight business people that are in it, and we're from all different types of businesses. But we met last week, and we went across the river into Cordon, and I wrote up about that. That's pretty interesting, and I was careful to say, we do most everything inside of Meade County, and I listed the things that we have done. But sometimes it's good to cross out of our county boundary to see what other Chamber of Commerces are doing and what other chambers are putting on. Indiana is very interesting because they have such a wonderful grant program for their chambers and their visitor centers and things like that. And it's a little bit frustrating because here we are, 17 miles away, but we're in Kentucky. And we don't have all the same advantages for the grants programs that they have over there. We're working on it,
right?
But we don't have all the same. And so they're telling us what they're doing. We're like, man, oh, wow. And they're like, yeah, we applied to the state thing, and we got it. When we went to Madison, that was really phenomenal. So anyway, so that's one of those things. Did you hear about the amazing job that Meade County High School did when a student from another district tried to break into the school last week? Did you hear about that? So, we've got young employees here that work at Meade, or they go to Meade.
The co-op.
Yeah, the co-op kids. And so, from what I understand, another student from another school, and we didn't even say which one. So it could have been any of the districts that surround Meade County. Decided to come and visit, and so they got themselves into the school, and so they were walking around the hallway. They didn't do anything. No, there was no harm at all.
They were there to visit
somebody.
But
yes,
they were unannounced.
They were unannounced, uninvited, and unwelcomed. And so, but the safety protocols that they have in place immediately, like boom, immediately locked down on that. And they knew exactly where this person was, what they were doing. They were able to, get rid of it without any incident whatsoever. It was fantastic. And so...
Very cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So our 15-year-old, Lucinda, she wrote about that. And she was she was real perky about it, and she was just telling me all about it, and I was like, but the safety protocol.
Did we get a statement from the school?
Yes. Yeah, we have a statement from the school as well. And so we have a statement from the school, and then she wrote about it from a student's perspective.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because
oh, you want to feel safe. You get enough in the news about all of these shootings and mass shootings and from people that you know. Well, and this is supposedly a visitor from somewhere else.
Yeah,
so that's interesting. Yeah.
Listen, back in the early 1980s, when I was a 16-year-old junior at East Hardin High School out in Glendale, my best friend forgot her homework. So she and I drove from E-Town over to Glendale, and we knew what windows were locked or not locked, and we just opened the window, boom, went right in, went over to our locker, got her stuff, and left. There was nothing. There were no cameras.
You just admitted to a crime.
Yeah, but I think
your time. Yeah, the time's probably gone way by now.
Yeah, probably. I was 16. I'm 60 now, and there was no harm done. And so, truly, all we did was get our homework. But we've got a great write up about two of our high school students with the 4-H club. So anyway, it's a good thing. Here's something I do want to talk about before we move on to another subject. 2 things that are coming up this week. We're doing a thing called Love Notes, and it's where you get a 2x2 ad for $20, and you can put whatever you want to on there as long as it fits. I bought one, and I put, I think, eight names on it, because I was like, shout out to blah, 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 blah. Thanks for all you do. Happy Valentine's Day. And so that is a really fun and different way to do something. You don't need to buy candy. You would easily spend $20 on a box of candy that maybe your coworker or your family member doesn't need, or flowers or whatever. But this is something that you can just call us up, say, yeah, I want to do this. We have a little form you can fill out, or you can reach out through our email. But then we're going to design the page, and it's going to be like this giant Valentine's card with lots of roses and hearts and pink and red, and we're going to make it really sweet. And it doesn't have to be just your romantic interest. You can thank your office mates. You can thank the doctor that helped you. You can thank somebody at your church that really touched you. Valentine's Day is an opportunity just to say thank you, and I love you, and I appreciate that. So that would be something for you guys to do. The other thing is we're having a contest. And this year, most of the time, we focus on the women. We focus on pedicures and eyebrows and flowers and roses and perfumes and all that stuff. We're focusing on the men. Oh, yeah. So we've created a man basket.
A man basket?
A man basket, and several businesses.
Is that such a thing? It is now.
It is now, but several businesses are donating. Like already, we have a round of golf for 4. That's pretty cool.
I'm all in.
Out at Doe Valley. We've got a free oil change. We've got a free lunch for 2 at Home Plate.
There you go.
You can't beat Home Plate.
Home Plate's good.
Yeah, that's good. I can't remember everything we have, but we have we have a charcuterie board from Bottoms Boards, and she's going to donate, and it's heart shaped. And so we have a couple of phone calls out, that to come in.
Fill it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, a car wash from Richie.
Oh, okay. Richie's car. Yeah.
Yep. So
customer. I'm a customer. Yeah.
Me too. And so anyway, so that's all you have to do is write a short. Where you met your man, how you met him, how long you've been together, just anything like that. We're going to take everybody's name who submits, drop it into a cup, and then we're going to draw that name out. But we are going to publish the favorite 3, and it's going to be staff favorites. So the ones we read and we go,
I'm not eligible to compete in that. So thank you, Vicki, if you submit. But
no, Vicki, you can submit. You just can't win.
I can't win.
Yeah, we can't win.
That would be inappropriate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. But anyway, that's a lot.
So turn your man in.
Yeah.
Tell us why.
Yep. I want to write about it anyway, about how I met Eddie and all of our romance.
Oh, isn't that so sweet? Some things you should not mention. There's another subject about AI that's in there. We were talking about a pre-show, which is interesting because depending on where you're at and what type of work you're in, there's like a couple of different spectrums. We had a great visit at the Kentucky Press Association. They talked about this topic. Obviously, we're not going to write the stories that we get with AI. However, if you're doing research using AI, it does cut down on the amount of time that you have to look up facts and information if you know how the right prompts, because you will get back what you asked for if you don't properly prompt the AI tool that you're using. Most of them are powered by ChatGPT, but the interesting facts that were brought up by one of our writers is the fact that the amount of energy consumed to compute an AI prompt is greater than obviously if you used your own brain.
Well, yeah. I mean, she was pointing out the fact that, and I didn't even think of it. This was an aspect that I didn't consider. She said, "Hey, can I write something about AI?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, go right ahead." Because let the record show that Earlene Bohannon is not a fan in any way
AI.
at all. I'm not just resisting it. I'm just having nothing to do with it.
You've watched too many Terminator movies.
No, it's not even that. It's an insult on your intelligence.
If you're using it for creative needs, yes, you're violating your creative artistic. But if you're using it to help compute problems and do some research, I see a benefit to it. Do you know how many hours?
It's laziness.
Okay. Well, you ain't going to get to the Star Trek Enterprise
I don't wanna
by
get to the
building
Star
it with
Trek
human hands. You got to use some level of automation or computing. Don't you? It's funny though. You watch Star Trek your whole life, right? And you say, "Computer, what is the binary blah blah blah," right? And that computer would talk back to you. Now you're living in that time where what you used to see as fiction on television become reality.
It's horrible. And then not only that, like some of our high school employees, they said, "Oh, you wouldn't believe the kids at Meade County High School that use it to do their homework." And they just speak it in. It's like this. Let's say they're going to write a paper on the Civil War. They just speak in the dates, the place, whatever, and they'll say, "We need something for 350 words." And
no, see, that's wrong. I don't agree with that.
But it gets done on the daily.
Yeah, I got that. Now, it'd be nice if they had, like, teachers. I know when I had to produce papers, even in college, that there was a program that we submitted our papers through, and it would tell you how much of the newspaper was your own artistic, based off because you still have to use like the how you would quote your reference and all that other stuff, and how much of the information you would use would be from a resource. Sometimes you can't restructure a sentence based off of a fact. You're quoting a fact. You got to give the reference. But the paper would tell you how much of that was your own creative thought based off the fact versus how much of the fact you quoted.
Yeah,
versus
but do you see how much more work is required to figure out what this person wrote and what this person didn't write?
Yeah, right. But this machine would spit it out. You put the paper in, it would read it, and it would tell you how much of that.
And that doesn't scare you at all?
No, because that's not AI. That is something completely different. This tool's been in use for years before AI.
That level of computer work upsets me. It's like putting a smartphone in a 4-year-old's hand.
But it would tell the English teacher who's grading all those papers how many of them were already AI written. Like, I think it'd be cool if there was a program that would tell you whether or not this was with your own creative thinking or if this was done from AI.
Maybe. I just think it's an unnecessary tool. I mean, I just don't think we should
but
have
most colleges now use that tool to make sure that...
I know I'm the dinosaur here.
Well, no, they use it for making sure you didn't copy somebody else's paper verbatim and then use it again just to write your own paper. They did crack down on plagiarism with it.
I agree.
So, but I don't know how many times you can write a story about Abraham Lincoln or history before the seams start to cross.
At this point, there's no need to do it. The only other thing that it could do is if you tell a student to write something by that way they learn how to do research. They learn how to form sentences. They learn sentence structure. They learn how to write a paragraph.
100%.
All of that is important. Whether you already know the information or not is irrelevant. What is relevant is teaching the discipline of writing.
I agree. And reading.
What we're losing. Do you know how many children their fine motor skills just stink. They can't color, they can't cut. You know why? Because they get an iPad, their parents give them a tablet, and it's like, oh, color this flower. So down here is a little section with colors, and they go, oh, I want my flower to be red. So they touch red and then touch the flower. That's not coloring.
That's not crayons.
There's nothing. They need to color.
I'm learning to color again.
It's important.
Well, it is absolutely important. What I didn't learn, what I didn't remember growing up is how long it took to actually color something in between the lines. And Vicki came home with this big old poster board coloring book. It took us almost a whole family to color in one full page because there were so many
But
features.
I love that.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, that speaks to my heart. Oh, so last year, it popped up on my memories. So last year in 2024, I had this big thing going on because the after school care program at Del Valley caters to kids who are in kindergarten through about 4th or 5th grade. There were only like 2 or 3 of them that could tie a pair of shoes. They did not know how to tie shoes. So I was like...
I'm trying to get Landon. Liam is going to tie shoes before Landon
I was like,
does.
hold the phone. You shouldn't be able to get out of kindergarten without tying your dang shoes.
100% agree.
You should not. Like, the kindergarten teacher should not pass you to 1st grade if you can't tie your shoes.
I 100% agree.
You know-
I've sat down with Landon, though. I've even done it Boy Scout method. I took a board, put it on his lap with the laces that come up, and tried to teach him just to overhand knot.
Just tell him, you will not get your tablet until you can tie your shoes.
That's right.
You will not be able to look at Daddy's phone until you can tie your shoes.
Yeah.
I bet he'll learn
And
how to
then
tie
he'll
shoes pretty
say,
quick.
can I use my tablet to learn how to tie my
No,
shoes?
and then you say
And I taught him-
no,
I know.
no.
It's funny.
So here's the thing. I hate when
So now they just make shoes with bungee cords. You don't need it.
I know. And you know what? Do you know how many parents said that back to me? They're like, well, he just has pull-on shoes, or there's still a need. There's still a need to be able to
Tie
do
knots.
that. Yeah, you should be able to do it. There's certain things you should be able to do. You should know how to ride a two-wheeler. You should know how to tie your shoes. You should know how to zip up your jacket. You should understand basic prepositions like in, out, beside, on,
Up,
over,
down.
under. Yeah. But
in, through,
you
out.
would be stunned at the amount of 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds who do not know these basic things anymore. Because they're not, for one thing, they're too involved in anything with a screen. And then the other thing is, people aren't taking the time to show them these things. It's faster just to put your coat on your kid. It's faster to just go ahead and slip their shoes on and tie it real quick and let's go. We got to go. I mean,
Yeah, they get frustrated because I'm not going to sit there and do it for them, and they got to put it on. And I'm like, dude, you can stay here and be frustrated all day, but we got to go, and you're going to put that coat on.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. And then they throw it down and they have to lay and roll
Yeah.
around and everything.
Okay.
So, all right, I got to go. We got to go. I mean, I get it. I had a supper 2 weeks ago with 2 young. I say they're young, and I think they're much younger than me. But both their children they have girls that are I think 9 and 10 years old.
Okay.
And I told them,
I'm a young parent then.
yeah, and I was like, because I don't think of the parent's age. I think
No,
of
you think of the age you're in with the
oldest,
kids.
the oldest child's age. And I was like, I am so thankful and grateful that I do not have to parent children this age anymore. It is so much harder. Some of the discussions that these little 7, 8, 9-year-olds are bringing home, and it doesn't matter if you're at Christian school, homeschool, public school, what, but they are so
Exposed.
exposed. That's a great word. They are so much more exposed to things that
You would have never even imagined.
No,
I know it.
never would have even thought of. Maybe in middle school, it would have started being whispered around the edges, and we would have been like, what? What? And now we've got 7 and 8-year-olds explaining that to us because they've heard about it on the bus or the playground.
Or some game that they're just unwatched, unparented.
Yeah, I don't understand this, and I can't even tell you what it is, but I don't understand a game where a kid has these on. And you can't really hear what the other person's saying to them, and then they've got a little microphone. I mean, you can hear what your kid's saying, but you don't know what this other person is saying. How does that set well? How do people know
so
that?
I do know that you can turn off so they can't chat, so that they don't have to hear that. Most parents don't know that and won't set those settings.
But can they still play with this other?
You can still play, but most other players will kick you out of their team if you can't communicate. So, sorry, that's the price for playing.
Yeah,
I don't. My kids do not get to communicate. They cannot add friends. They cannot do any of that stuff.
Good.
Yeah. Nope.
Good. Yeah, here's the thing. I just think people do not want to allow their children to be bored. They're like, oh, they're going to be bored, and then they're going to act up. Let them. Let them be bored. Do not give them.
It gives them the ability to be creative.
Yes. And to learn all kinds of self-regulation. Most children struggle now with self-regulation because they feel like they have to be instantly entertained all the time. They can't sit in a waiting room without a tablet in their hand. They can't wait they can't go out to eat with their parents and wait for their meal to be delivered without having a phone. I see it all the time. Kids will have a phone up like this, and they're out to eat at, Miguel's or Home Plate or any of our. Talk to your kid. Take that away from them. Get rid of it.
That happens from time to time.
Yeah, I
But well, even more so when they act up, it's not a matter of giving them a phone. Grab your child, get up, and make the evening more pleasant for the others.
Go have a discussion with your child.
I've walked out with Sissy, who happens to be 3 years old now, and I said, well, we're going to have to wait out here, and she'd throw a fit. And I said, well, I'll go back in if you want to stop fussing, but I'm not going to go back in there, and you can fuss out here, but I'm not going to ruin everybody else's meal. And then, Vicky and the boys would be in there eating by themselves.
Yeah, I love that.
And then she would be like, yes.
I mean, you don't have to be mean about it. So
You
another
just have to
thing
talk.
is, let them have response. We can't go back inside until you stop.
That's right.
And then, so we're just going to wait until you stop.
Yeah, that's
And
it.
then it puts everything on her. All the power is hers.
Yep.
Okay, I'm done. I've stopped. Okay. Are we going to have to come back out? No.
Yep,
we're not.
you have to take the same time out that they do.
Right.
Unfortunately, welcome to being a parent.
Yeah.
That's it.
I
Yeah.
get it. And I don't think there's
we're
anything-
learning that. Right? There's no book for
There
being,
isn't.
that. You could read books and books about how somebody did something some way, but nobody is going to be a better definer of your child than you. So.
And no matter what you do, no matter how much you try, it just isn't. Everything's not going to be right, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. So many people struggle and about things because they think, if I don't do this, then I've had so many parents say to me, I have to give him a phone because all his friends have
no.
one. They
No.
feel that pressure as a parent. And I'm like, oh, honey. And you can't protect them from everything. Like, even if your child does not have access to a phone, there's so many children on the bus or out on the playground that do. One of my friends, her child's, I think he's in second grade now, but when he was in kindergarten, one of his little friends asked him the day before, do you want to see a picture of something? And he was like, well, how do you do that? And he said, I'll show you. It's on my brother's phone. So the next day they go, they have school. This was at Barry Hahn. And they have school and they do everything. Well, then they have a recess break. The kid had a hat on. When he went outside, he pulled the hat off and the phone was in his hat. And he pulled that phone out and showed my friend's kindergarten something very inappropriate that his teenage brother had.
no.
The teacher had no idea this kid had a phone.
That's like slipping a gun in the classroom.
The parents had. Well, it's not that bad, Stephen. It's not like
It's a
gun.
phone.
I know, but it's not like a gun.
You just took that kid's. Well, it's not vanity. It's called, what is it?
It took his innocence.
Innocence. That's the word I was
Yes, it
looking
did. I mean, my friend's son had nightmares that night because they had done everything to protect him, and she cried. Oh, she just cried and cried, and she's like, you just can't help it. I mean, there's just things like that. And then, so the teacher was stunned. The parents didn't even know he had it. They were just all stunned.
Wow.
And he was 5 or 6 years old, however old you are in kindergarten now. But isn't that amazing?
5. Well, you're supposed to turn 5. Yeah. Anyway.
So they probably didn't have kindergarten for 2 hours in the school. That means he sat there with that hat on, with that phone in his hat.
Shouldn't be allowed to wear hats in.
I guess, but, I don't know if it was a University of Kentucky or University of Louisville hat. It depends.
Oh,
They get to wear those at Meade County.
I don't think there's a lot of red hats around.
Green wave hats, But anyway, I'm just saying it's really difficult, and no matter no matter how hard you try, we're just in a time. We're just in such a time.
And some of that requires some growth, and some of it also requires some restraint. So I'm going to close with some sponsors, and then you'll come back to us real fast. But again, I just want to say thanks to Ray's Ford for sponsoring this week's episode. Thanks again for the team down there at Team Ray. We appreciate you and what you do for the community, business-wise, and for service and sales. If you're looking to buy a car, call Keith. He's working in the sales department, and he's selling automobiles. You can get all your needs from Ray's Ford. And then the Joe Redmond, who does some building, construction, stuff like that, not necessarily builds a house, but he will help you with your landscaping needs. He will help you fix up a deck, build a deck. What are you looking to do around your home that needs a fixer-upper? Well, Joe Redmond is your guy. Call 270-668-2858 for all your landscaping needs. And he's got a good crew that will be there, show up, and get the job done just how you want it. Look for Joe Redmond, 270-668-2858. Terry Hubry with Lakeside Bar and Grill from the Doe Valley Association. They are right there at where the tennis and swim club is, and they serve an amazing menu, and they are Wednesday through Sunday. And you can meet them for their brunch as long as you get there before 2, and they've got a great brunch menu. They also do catering, 270-422-3981. So if you're looking to put a little party together, you can call them as well. And Pollock's Appliance, if you're looking for your appliance needs, you can get your appliance locally. You don't have to go far, but if you call 270-668-8292, they service what they sell, and you can go to www.pollocksappliance.com. You can look at their lineup and selection. If they don't have it, they can order it, and you can get all the service needs that you need right here locally from Pollock's Appliance. They also install, they do everything. So, Earlene, this was another interesting show of news that's news across the Meade County nation. Super glad for what you're doing. Thank you. And to all the writers out there, keep up the great work. We've got just a little bit more to go as we get into February.
10 days to Valentine's Day.
Sweet.
Don't wait until the 13th and go, oh my goodness, I need something.
See you guys later.
Think about it.